It's Power Up the Mailbag time. We're going to be taking questions today in our episode from public utility employees out there. And we're going to hear from Richard, who's hoping to get laid off and figure out what we can do with that. Patty, who's freaking out about her 401k. And Rebecca, who's got a thoughtful question about an article she read about a 4% rule. So we're going to take those one at a time. Let me grab Walt and we'll get started.
Back at it on Power Your Retirement. Walter Stroholt here for another episode alongside certified financial planner Steve Smith. And it is a mailbag edition of the show. And we've got 3 great listener questions to dive into today. Steve, are you ready to tackle these? This should be fun.
I'm excited. So just keep throwing them at me, Walt. This is going to be great.
You got it. Before we dive in, though, I do have to say, just real quick, you were telling me a funny story before we started recording today that you were speaking at an event locally recently, a charity event, and they were just kind of introducing you to be the guest speaker, and they introduced you in a way you hadn't been introduced publicly before, and that was kind of fun.
It was. And for the listeners out there, I don't always just do finance. I talk to different schools and charity and church and all different kinds of things, along with the workshop tour that I do. So I get out there a lot, and it was just interesting when people mentioned we have a, best-selling author, locally or in our community, and also podcaster. And it kind of took me aback. I'm like, oh, well, yeah. And I thought that was really, really neat. It was kind of interesting. I didn't really know what to say to that. But I was. I'm a
podcaster and a YouTuber now. Look at that.
I think my kids were jealous that I'm a YouTuber.
I was going to say that's got to score some dad points, right? I would think.
Definitely.
Love it. All right, well, let's get into these questions. Our first one comes to us from Patty, and Patty works for a utility in California and says, I've heard that you should set a goal to save 15% of your income toward retirement. This seems incredibly daunting and, quite frankly, impossible to me. Is it really necessary to save that much? So Patty would be a great representation of somebody maybe in their early, mid, or even late working years, trying to figure out how much to put into those retirement accounts.
Yes. A couple rules of thumb, and then we'll get into a few specifics to address to Patty. One is that the earlier you can save and the more you can save, the easier it's going to become, because it's got that long runway of compounding. And the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest, according to Einstein, at least. So that is one of the things that I would say the more you can put in. But if 15% is too much for the budget, we'll take a look at working more years or maybe living on less. It depends. Also, if Patty's younger, she's going to make more as she gets older, so she can put away more as the pieces start to come together with the family and the house and all of that. So don't get stuck on a number. That's the hard part about pulling these rules of thumbs off the internet or out of a book, or they don't really know your situation. So we always help clients put together that retirement plan so they can be at ease and know what it means. If we can only do 10%, we can show them what that looks like and what we have to work into. So that's the initial thing that I would tell her about, the saving of the 15%. Don't worry about that, but you should work with someone so that you know that you're on track, or at least what you need to build into.
I think it's a great answer and a great outlook for somebody like Patty, too, to just remember that there's other factors that go into this whole equation than just that savings amount. So much of it comes down to spending. So even at the same income, 15% could be plenty for someone, but not enough for the next person. And if you're married and your spouse is working, that changes the equation for maybe how much you individually need to save for retirement. So yeah, so many other levers that can get pulled there. It seems hard, Steve, to just give that blanket. Yeah, 15% is plenty or not enough. So many other levers that need to be pulled. So good question though, Patty. Appreciate that.
It's wonderful.
All right. So this episode is somewhat unique because we're going to get these three questions all from kind of different phases of working. So Patty's was, hey, maybe early career, mid career. Richard, our next question asker, is right on the precipice of retirement. And then our final question asker, Rebecca, might still be working, but at least the question has to deal with post retirement or once you're in retirement. So let's get to Richard's first. Richard is in California as well and says, I was planning to work for one more year and then retire. But I'm now hearing that we might have some layoffs, and I could be offered a severance package equal to 1 year's salary. So that seems like it would be great news since I was only going to work another year anyway. Am I dumb for hoping I get laid off? Richard's like, this is too good to be true.
Right. Well, Richard, congratulations. Getting a year severance would be a huge gift, especially if you only have 1 year. The whole caveat to that is I hope that everything has been planned out for you and that you're solid in that, and it's not just like a target date fund where I'm hoping to retire at this particular age. So I would encourage you to make sure that before you would accept a package like that, because usually those are volunteer that come around, those types of offers, that you would make sure that you're fully planned to retire. Because if you needed to work 5 more years, that could be a huge problem, albeit a blessing in disguise, and give you a year to find another job too and enjoy that year. So you may still want to take the offer, even if you do have to work a couple more years on the outside just to get some early fishing in or something. But congratulations for if you do only need that 1 year, as you're disclaiming in this question. And to get out a year early is just a huge blessing. And I hope it all works out for you. And if you need any help, if you're listening out there, Richard, give us a call.
Yeah, absolutely. You can schedule an appointment online at the Powerhouse Financial Advisor website. By the way, Richard, it would be a great time being either a year from retirement or maybe facing this severance decision very soon to go ahead, get that appointment, get some solid financial planning in place, something you want to do on the front end, not the back end of that decision. So we've got a link where you can schedule a time to meet with Steve from your smartphone or computer. It's in the description of today's show, so certainly encourage you to do that. You can also pick up Steve's retirement toolkit to power up your 401k. It's at the website powerupyour401k.com. Again, we've got that linked in the description of today's show as well. So whether you want to book an appointment and have that conversation directly or start off with the toolkit, we've got options for you. Just look for those links. All right, we get to now retirement, and a great question, very astute here from Rebecca. Rebecca's in Nevada and says, I used to hear about the 4% rule. Does that still work?
Always the hard questions from the Nevadans,
They do their reading, I guess, Steve.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's an excellent question. And 4%, 5%, 6%, depending on the book or article you're reading, they're all over the place. In newspapers, books, magazines, you can find everybody's got a little bit different opinion. And the reason I say that is because that's exactly what it is, an opinion. There is no 4% rule. The reason why the 4% rule is the most popular over the 5 and the 6 that some will promote is because it's more conservative. So it's more forgiving. If you're taking less out, you can have if your portfolio or whatever isn't quite optimized or isn't enough, if the 4% is more conservative. That's why a lot of people will lean on that for putting things in articles. But I would challenge you that the 4% rule is definitely, it leaves you lacking if you're actually going to utilize that in your retirement plan. Let me give you a couple examples. The 4% rule doesn't take into account how much Social Security that you have coming in, or at when you're going to take it, if you're going to discount that before full retirement, or you're going to ratchet that up to a later. It doesn't take into effect if you or a spouse have some kind of pension or cash balance pension in your financial retirement savings life. So just taking something so simple of, I have $1 million, 4%, I'm good for life. Something as simple as that could leave you in a real bad way in retirement. So I would definitely talk with someone who can help you pull in retirement health benefits, any kind of pensions, social securities, all those things that affect how much you should pull down on that 401k.
Great question, Rebecca. Thanks for the answer as well, Steve. If you've got a question that you want featured on a future show, you can certainly reach out to us through the website, or a great way to do it if you watch the show on YouTube is to leave a comment, and we'll be certainly to take a look at those and include those for future questions for Steve as well. So don't miss that opportunity. And don't forget that you can book a free complimentary appointment with Steve and the team, or you can check out the Retirement Toolkit. Just click the links in the description of today's show for those resources and opportunities. Steve, thanks for participating in this mailbag edition of the show. This will be fun to do again sometime, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Walt. And I want to thank our listeners out there. I want to take a quick moment just to say thank you for sending in these questions, because I love doing the show on topics and different things, but to answer your questions is really where the rubber hits the road. So thank you for listening to the Power Eat Your Retirement. And thanks, Walt. We'll see you next time.
See you, everybody. This podcast is provided by Powerhouse Financial Advisors, an independent firm with advisory services offered through Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc., PAS, a federally registered investment advisor. The information provided is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as personalized investment advice. PAS does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of this information for your specific circumstances. Investment decisions should be based on an individual's goals, time horizon, and risk tolerance. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investments carry a degree of risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any case studies, testimonials, or endorsements shared in this podcast are illustrative of individual experiences and may not be representative of the experience of all clients. They do not guarantee future performance or success. You should not infer any level of assurance regarding future financial outcomes. Listeners should consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before making any investment decisions. Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Be sure to consult with your tax and legal professionals regarding your specific circumstances. For a copy of our Form ADV Part 2A, which provides additional information about PAS, including our advisory fees and services, please visit powerhousefinancialadvisors.com.